Belinda Jones, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Leo.
So you've just been announced as the lead Senate candidate for Legalise Cannabis in Queensland at the next Senate election. You've previously obviously run in the Fadden by-election. You're an independent. Before that, you were a rank and file Labor member. Talk us through your political journey, I guess, both getting to legalise cannabis and then actually making the decision and why you wanted to run in the Senate.
Well, I've had a really varied political journey. Going right back, my father was a Country Party member. My mother was a Liberal before the Nationals, before the Country Party changed their name to the Nationals. I was raised a Liberal. I've been a swinging voter. I have voted for every party and a lot of independents that, in the parliament. So it's not uncommon to move around politics until you find that party that aligns with your values. And through this journey, standing as a candidate in the Fadden by-election, that in hindsight was a blessing in disguise, because that's where I met Suzette Lucan from Legalise Cannabis, and I got to know what the values of the party were. And through that journey, I got to know more and more, and then ultimately joined the party and went for nominated for this position I'm in now. And it's not uncommon for people in politics to move around until they find their tribe, and I found my tribe.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's somewhat common for people to jump around, as you say. Just on that, and you touched on it at the end, running for nominations. You've got a decent following on Australian politics Twitter. You've had media attention through your candidacy at the Fadden by-election. Why make that decision to go for something that is, a pretty realistic shot, I think, of winning as a legalised cannabis senator? Do you think you're up for it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And number one, my values align with the party's values. I have a depth of knowledge of Australian politics, and I really believe in what the party stands for. And we have the one policy for cannabis, but that one policy is like throwing a pebble into a pond, in that the ripple effect of that one policy goes across many portfolio areas, and particularly areas close to my heart, like the environment and women's issues. And, I could sit here and talk about a lot of them, but yeah, a lot of issues that align with how I felt, and, are very similar to the policy platform that I took to the Fadden by-election. So that can tell you that my move it's not a huge leap. It's probably a natural trajectory.
Yeah, just on that, and you touched on it regarding, I guess, the policy platform. I know when you announced the candidacy, you've said, right, there's the party is progressive left, a pretty broad platform. I am curious about
Yeah.
that. Just because, publicly, I think the party has called itself single policy or single issue. I look at like the party websites, and there is only one policy or a couple policies, but they all link to legalizing cannabis. So I guess what is this kind of broad flat platform? And I'll just note in saying that obviously, if you are elected as a senator, you will have to tackle a lot of issues more than just cannabis.
Oh, absolutely. But we are an evolving party. We are a grassroots party that is growing larger, and we're fighting for our first Senate seat. So, we are not positioning ourselves at the next election as a party of government. We are evolving, and we will grow. That one policy does affect many portfolio areas, and we have a broader policy platform, which makes us difficult to define as progressive left. Now, when I say progressive left, for example, in our horse race journalism in Australia, we decide, where everyone stands on the political spectrum. And the political spectrum is more horseshoe shaped than linear. And a lot of people do cross over and values cross over. So, for example, we're pro-choice for women and pro-voluntary assisted dying. Now, they would be considered progressive left issues, even though many on the right would be pro-choice or pro-voluntary assisted. So it's really hard to define us, because another absolutely fundamental part of our policy platform is that we are advocating for personal freedoms and civil liberties and people's right to make their own choices in their own lives for, say, for example, cannabis. Now, people, some political parties and on the far right have hijacked what you would identify as freedoms. So then that makes it a bit confusing, because that policy is generally associated with the right. So we appeal to a broad range of people, and no political party is going to align with any candidate or any member's ideals 100% all the time. Okay, so most people will gravitate to the party that aligns most with their ideals. And, you know, dissatisfied voters from other parties who do share our ideals and our ideology of freedom and civil liberties, human rights, peace, consensus. We are very much pacifists. So it's a broad policy platform that has the ability to grow and appeal to a broad cross-section of the political spectrum. So it's really hard to define us. And I think the Oscar Wilde quote sums it up. To define is to limit. So on some issues, we may be progressive left, but on some other issues, you know, you would traditionally say they were right issues. But so it's very difficult to define us. Well, I would say the most close of the common definitions would be centre left, would be probably more accurate. But even that's sort of, it's really hard to define.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Just quickly on that as well, before I move on, you know, I think something that a lot of minor parties in this country have, I guess, struggled with is people taking them seriously. You know, I know that there would be people who do just vote for your party based on the name alone, which, I mean, look, a vote's a vote for you, but still. And then, you know, there has been, you know, some level of, with some of the state MPs. I know there was one in WA who quit, and there was some disunity about things like trans issues there. You know, so again, going back to like how some minor parties have had divisions which have caused them to struggle. Do you think Legalise Cannabis Party, noting that it's still, you know, somewhat small and still pretty new, do you think it's going to be able to hold itself together, you know, present itself in a way that makes voters take them seriously and give you a realistic shot?
Yes, I do, because, and the name of Legalise Cannabis is really important to us. And I'll just reflect on the Queensland, the ABC Queensland coverage on Saturday night. And there was a discussion about Legalise Cannabis because we polled so well. And I noticed the panel had little slight giggles, like they were saying something naughty. What we are working to do is change opinions. And if we change our name and make it unassociated with cannabis, then it kind of defeats our purpose. We want to normalise and destigmatise what cannabis is, and, you know, educate people and raise awareness that, you know, medicinal cannabis is an amazing help to a lot of people suffering health ailments, and it's available through your doctor. And, you know, so part of that is keeping the name as it is breaking down those barriers. And yes, we are a serious party, and we intend to grow and position ourselves as you know, a credible threat to the minors and ultimately the majors.
You mentioned Queensland there, which is a good segue. Only running a few seats, but I imagine some pretty encouraging results there. There were some where you were polling in fourth place or third place at various points on Saturday night, and not sure exactly how things are shaping up. But there have been various results in seats where you can't win them, but you're doing quite well in some of these single member electorates at general elections. How are you feeling about those results?
Oh, we're absolutely ecstatic. Queensland election was one of our best results ever in the state, and we've increased our voter primary vote in. I'm pretty sure all of them, but I'd have to check those facts. But certainly a large majority of them. And every election, we stand and field a candidate. We're raising that awareness and increasing our presence, and voters are becoming accustomed to seeing us. And I often use the Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote that real change, enduring change, is made in small steps. Now, no one understands that saying like the Legalise Cannabis Party. I'm very much a Johnny come lately, really, that there's been many before me who have worked tirelessly to get us to this point. And, with the political instability at the moment, with, a lot of voters are dissatisfied with their previous voting patterns. And so we want to offer a credible alternative. And as we grow, so too will our policy platforms, and we'll become, a more fully wholesome party growing. And so that's where we're at. I mean, and it's a really exciting journey. It's a really exciting journey, and we'll be fielding candidates in the next federal election nationwide. So it's time to sort of, start looking at who are the representatives on offer for your community in your state or territory, and do your research and look them up and find out about them. Or if you're interested, join a party. Any party, doesn't have to be, if you feel politically minded. And that's what democracy is all about, and we fully support that.
On the next federal election, as we've spoken about plenty of times before, right? You've been, active online, doing a lot of posting regarding Australian politics, and then you've actually run in an election, which you're not going into this as a first time candidate, which I imagine helps. What are the I guess the strategies going to be for getting the legalized cannabis message out there? Is it a mix of social media? Is it on the ground? Both? What are you thinking?
Well, each candidate will have their own strategy for their own seat for the House of Representatives, or for their state or territory for Senate candidates. Obviously, I'm in southeast Queensland, and Queensland is a huge state. So I'll be initially, working and getting around to as many of the members as I can. And right now, I think Queenslanders have a little bit of election fatigue. And so if you sort of give them a little bit of a break, then we'll be right on top of Christmas. So I think the plan is to, get all the ducks in a line and get ready to go sort of 1st of January, looking at a May election, and just keep plugging away at it, because we've got to this point due to the hard work of tireless volunteers who've just worked for years and years to get us to this point. And I can only say they've done a marvelous job, and we just tend to, I've joined the team, and I'm just going to keep on doing what they're doing.
Just finally, the overarching fundamental question, in your view, why should we legalize cannabis?
Well, number one, for the health benefits, and that has a follow-on effect to the entire easing pressure on the health system. I'd like to free up the police's time so they have more time to do policing of more important business. It will unclog the courts, it'll unclog the jails. in terms of, the economy. There's an opportunity to build a hemp industry, and simultaneously alongside an environmental policy of replacing cotton with hemp. And you can grow 2 hemp crops to 1 of cotton, and it requires less water. So what we need to do is replace cotton, because it does take up far too much water. It's grown in one of the most arid parts of the country. 99.9% of it is exported, and then we buy it back as garments, and because we don't have any cotton mills here. So they're the sort of grand plans, big pie in the sky, we want to work towards achieving when we achieve electoral success, so that we can, increase profits for farmers, build a manufacturing industry to create jobs. So they're just a few of the ideas, but the absolute number one reason for legalizing cannabis is the health benefits and improving the quality of life of Australians. And that, as I said, will have a ripple effect through health systems and just so many other things.
All right, well, we are going to be covering your campaign very, very closely. Could be really tight, and I'm sure we'll catch up again in the future. Belinda Jones, best of luck to you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing you through the campaign. Have a good one.
Okay.
And happy birthday for next month.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.